And the way this playoff format is, and it's going to be used again next year, the Leafs better get bigger and tougher because they're going to face a team like Boston in the first round next year if they make it.
Okay, so we've talked about the LA Kings. We've talked about San Jose, Anaheim. Dallas, a lot of Dallas diehards say Dallas has got a magical team this year. They're fast, they're quick, they got decent goaltending. What about Boston? Is Boston going to be the runaway bride for the 2013-14 season? Are they going to win a Stanley Cup this year?
Well,
I think they're quite capable. I also would be frightened of playing Detroit in the first round. I think when you look at upsets, that's the potential of a great one. I don't think it'll happen. I think Columbus has got a chance of upsetting Pittsburgh, and the other upset is Minnesota over Colorado. The rest are going to follow the form, I think. But Boston, to answer your question, Frank, is a very, very good playoff hockey team. And as we witnessed last year, the first round is their nemesis. They better be ready to play against Detroit, or they may have a broken heart.
Well, what is it about Detroit? What the fuck is it about that city, Motown, greatest music city in the world? What is it about that team? They could be bandaged up. They could have guys who are ready to go to the retirement home and play bocce, and they come out and they play, and it's beautiful. It's like seeing a fine tuned orchestra play an incredible overture. Like, what is it about? Is it Babcock? Is he the best coach in the NHL right now? And he can mold and put them together and make them win?
Well, I think a lot of it rides with Babcock. I think he did a fantastic job with the Canadian Olympic team, and there's no doubt in knowing that he's got control of the room, unlike what we saw happen in Toronto. It's Babcock, but it's also the front office. Detroit has far and away, I think, the best scouting system in the entire league. They're able to find these guys in the later rounds that come on and become incredible performers for them. I think Detroit, as an organization, is fantastic. And I say that, and it hurts me to say that, because I lived in Windsor for 3 years, longest decade of my life, and it poisoned me. I hate everything about the city of Detroit. I don't think they're going to beat Boston, but I got to give a tip of the hat to the Wings front office, because they have put together a great team year after year for 2 decades now.
See, Carlin, I disagree with everything you said on the city of Detroit. I love the city of Detroit. I love the restaurants there. I love the people there. I love Motown music. I love Detroit. And Detroit loves the Detroit Red Wings. And the Windsor fan base that Detroit has is unbelievable. Right up top, Kitchener, Waterloo, London, all of those, St. Thomas, those are all Detroit, those are Red Wings fans. Not one, very rare you'll find a Toronto Maple Leaf fan in that area.
I agree with that 100%. I think that we as Canadians should just pick up the border and move it back to Chatham.
You're a sarcastic prick. But
that I am, good sir, that I am.
I'm just telling you that Detroit, going back to what Carlin said, and I quote him, when the playoffs start, the slate is clean. Detroit Red Wings are having a fresh start, and they could be the Boston Bruins spoiler.
And maybe this means nothing, but the Wings did beat the Bruins 3 of 4 games this year in the regular season. Again, maybe that means nothing, but it should give the Wings a bit of confidence going in against the Boston team. That even when they got to the Stanley Cup final and won the Stanley Cup final a couple years ago, and even when they went to the Stanley Cup final last year but lost, their toughest series before the final was Series 1, the first round. They barely beat Montreal on their way to the Stanley Cup in 2010, or was that, 2011. And then, of course, last year we all know what happened against the Maple Leafs, Game 7, the blown lead and whatnot. But now, Detroit, if a team can give the Bruins a hard time in the first round, why not the Wings? They're faster. You know?
Hear me out, guys. I know all of you guys are very, very perceptive and very intuitive when it comes to hockey and most sports. So I'm going to ask Carlin this question. Carlin, coach per coach. Forget about team per team. Boston coach, Red Wings coach. Who's the better coach?
Oh, that is a tough question. You know, you're going with two different levels of greatness. I mean, there is no wrong answer. I think Mike Babcock is a great coach. You know, I really wish we saw him in blue and white instead of red and white. Speaking as a Leaf fan, you know, he did a great job with the Olympic team, as I said before. I think coaching. You know, we saw Babcock get a lot of mileage out of a Wings team that was a very, very beat-up team at a lot of points of this season. So I think I might tip the cap to Babcock in that direction. Yeah. What I think is going to be the X factor, though, I think the Bruins are going to beat up the Detroit Red Wings. They have the size advantage. They've got Chara, who I believe at last sight has been 13 or 14 feet tall. Guys like Marchand, guys like Lucic. These are guys that are just going to hammer the Wings. And the Wings, Bill, what do you think about this? Are the Wings, too soft to really stand up to the Bruins pound for pound that way?
Yeah, I think if the Bruins play their game and put the pressure on the Red Wings, your point is a very valid one, and that is the Bruins are too big and too tough. Nobody pushes back on the Bruins. I don't think that Jimmy Howard is near the goaltender that Tuukka Rask is, but
absolutely,
it's the playoffs. If we talked the same way last year about the Leafs and the Bruins, you can imagine what we would have said. And then all of a sudden, with 10 minutes left in the game, the Leafs are in control.
Almost beat them. Almost beat them.
And that's what Bill's saying. You know, you're right. If you look on paper, the Bruins should have annihilated Toronto, and it came down to 7 games.
Yeah. But Toronto, they had that Game 7 beat.
That's the magic of the playoffs.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of good teams go down, lose to teams that weren't nearly as good, but were better prepared and wanted it more, and that's the great thing about hockey. Sometimes the psychology of hockey can make a difference. And
100%, and that's exactly my point.
That's exactly my point. Worth his salt for leadership, they never would have let them do what they did in the last 3 weeks. But they had nobody. Nobody could put their finger in the dike. It just and that sometimes happens in the playoffs. And I don't think Detroit has any business beating Boston. Boston's going to have to play in a fashion that allow Detroit in the game. And if they do, it'll be an interesting series.
There's 3 games that the Detroit Red Wings have beat them. I think that they're going to beat them, and strictly because of psychology. I think Babcock is a great leader. The players are still buying into his philosophy and his leadership. And you're correct. Howard's a great goalie, but he's no Tuukka Rask. And but he doesn't know that.
Right, and you know what? You asked the question, Frank, who's the better coach, Babcock or Julien? And I'm going to pick Julien because he's got the better goalie, Tuukka Rask. And at the end of the day, I think goaltending wins this series, or certainly helps Boston over the end.
I think you can get to Tuukka Rask. I think he's a guy that if you ride him and push him a little bit, he loses his composure. He's very emotional. He's magnificent. When he's magnificent, he's magnificent. He's probably one of the best goalies in the world. But when you get to him, he becomes a big crybaby. He gets really upset, and he even becomes belligerent with his own team. And that's the only way you're going to get to Tuukka Rask. You're not going to beat him on shots because he is an incredible athlete. He is acrobatic. He is, I'd say, one of the best goalies in the NHL, if not in the world. But he can be getting to. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, when they played Philadelphia Flyers, and I thought the Leafs were going to win the Stanley Cup that year, Eddie Belfour was on the top of his game. He was at the pinnacle of his career. He was playing like I've never seen him play. He single-handedly took the series against the Ottawa Senators. They played the Philadelphia Flyers. The Philadelphia Flyers have Czechmanek in net, and Toronto has Eddie Belfour, one of the great goalies of the world. And what happened? Keith Primo single-handedly dismantled the Toronto Maple Leafs by himself. One player fucked them right up, and I'm surprised that the coach didn't send anybody that was expendable on the Leafs without naming names, because then I sound disrespectful. But somebody who you can afford to throw out of the game, right? To go after Primo, but that didn't happen, and that's what happened there. And I think, in my modest opinion, that Detroit Red Wings are the smarter team. Are they the better team? On paper, absolutely not. But are they the smarter team? I think they're the smarter team. And smart teams sometimes win, guys.